Armor Hero Cliff. The fourth armor to debut in Armor Hero Lava is my favorite armor out of the 6 that are present in this series. I like his design being a shattered rock, and his color combination being mainly silver with purple accents. And despite using the same power set as Armor Hero Tsunami, their designs don't mirror themselves one-to-one right away as opposed to Armor Heroes Lava and Tornado. His main weapon is also pretty creative from the rest of the armors, as there are 2 blades that combine into a shield thanks to his Scorpion Guardian Spirit. Also, his transformation sound is just my favorite out of the lava armors. However, when it came time for me to actually be able to get some of the roleplay toys for Lava, there is noticeably a lack of Armor Hero Cliff. And when you manage to find a listing... Well, I mean, this is Taobao, so maybe the secondhand market will be more generous, never mind. So for us to understand why these prices are the way they are, let me lay out the roleplay toys that were released for Armor Hero Lava for you. So for this show, we have 6 armors: Armor Heroes Lava, Tsunami, Tornado, Cliff, Techno, and Atlas. The core 4 were released within the show's run, while Techno and Atlas were released to coincide with the movie's release. To start, Armor Heroes Lava and Tsunami share a similar release lineup due to being the title characters attached to their respective summoning devices, which also has another means of release with a deluxe set comprising of the 2 transformation keys and mask for their armors tied to that belt. They also had their main weapons, their Guardian Spirits, that combine with their weapons, which then were packed together in a deluxe set, though with the sacrifice of the paint details of the Guardian Spirit for some reasons. But if you didn't want to buy the weapons and want your keys to have silver paint and chrome at the cost of the main body being cast in the wrong color, you can buy that armor's individual key set. Now to move on to Tornado and Cliff, as they were more so the secondary armors from their respective belts, they don't get their own releases with the belt. So to run down Tornado, for example, there is the previously mentioned deluxe set with Lava, his own key set, and his weapon set that were also released individually. Now at this point, I think it should be pretty clear to you what Cliff is going to provide, as Aldi has already done it 3 times already. So of course we have the deluxe transformation set with Tsunami and the deluxe weapon set. Wait a minute, why isn't that image breaking up? And did we forget the key set? Oh well, we will come back to that as we transition into the Armor Hero Atlas toys, to which Techno and Atlas had 2 toys respective to themselves: their summoning devices and weapon. So what was the deal with Armor Hero Cliff then? Why is he the only one out of the 6 armors to have an incomplete release lineup? Well, I wish we can come up with a solid answer. If Aldi had just done a site archive of the toys like what Bandai does, that would have been a lifesaver. So then I could have at least looked at the date of when the toy was released and looked back at what was occurring at that time. Bam! Easy educated guess. But nope, we're going to have to make a guess without reliable sources and word of mouth from the Chinese side. To which, to actually answer the question I propose, I just think Cliff's toys simply had the lowest distribution out of the rest of the armors, because going through the box and pamphlet that was included in the deluxe weapon set, the products it advertises are consistent with the last 3 armors, meaning the key set was to be released, but then it didn't? Well, actually, it didn't take until 2020 for someone to actually cover a legitimate copy of the Cliff Armor Energy key set. This doesn't look to be custom made. The box looks worn out naturally. The instructions look consistent. And the keys are casted the same way with the gray, metal, silver, and chrome that the previous 3 sets did. So we solved it then. There is a viable way of getting all of his toys, just not as widespread as the other 3 armors. But they're there. Let's go try and buy these. Oh my gosh. As we shown previously at the beginning of this video, Our Hero Cliff's toys are the most expensive products within the Lava toy line in the aftermarket. Because if we were to compare prices, Lava and Tsunami's keys, when I got them mind you, cost around $10 minimum. As for the weapons, I see them for around $20 to $35 depending on which version you get. As in the Guardian Spirit will be around $7 to $10. However, if we were to talk about Tornado, his key set blew up in demand. Most likely because of the release of the RX Lava Summoning Belt, but I wouldn't be surprised that he was also suffering from low supply. His weapons though are not as bad, but they are higher than Lava and Tsunami's weapons. But there is at least a little bit of hope of having some form of Cliff's energy keys, which is by getting the Atlas Summoning Belt and the Atlas Lightning Thunder Sword. Thankfully due to them being re-released often. But that only leaves you with half of the keys in a color that is not consistent with your other keys. Well, if you manage to fork over the money to get both the deluxe transformation and weapon sets, you have 3 out of the 4 non-colored Cliff energy keys. This is still a fumble, mind you. Okay then, so what if you don't want to fork over $90 for 4 plastic keys with metal that can oxidize at any moment? There is a solution. Yep, the community has stepped up and made their own RFID circuit boards that can work with the Lava toys. As you can see here, I managed to get myself a set comprising of all 4 of Cliff's sounds. So let's eagerly get it opened and... Oh. So despite reading this listing multiple times and not questioning the low price, I can't really defend my stupidity here. But since we have it, might as well show off the sounds it can make in the 2 belts. Now luckily, since I've last checked, there is someone that has reproduced all the chips of all 16 energy keys, albeit it's stated that you will have to do the labor of soldering the LED module and cutting the board yourself, but for $10, it's not too bad. I'm honestly pretty tempted to pick it up, not just for the sake of that I can have some semblance of Cliff keys in my collection, but so then I can obtain this Solar's Ultra Rise Eye code sheet. You know how difficult it's been to find people who crack this toy and actually provide ways for regular consumers to have a way of listening to future stuff? Stay tuned for December. All in all, as much as I would have liked to have ended this video off with a "actually guys, I lied," I managed to secure a copy of the Cliff energy key set. Look at my full Lava collection now. I'm still carrying some hope that I will be able to own the Cliff keys in some form, whether legitimate or not. I just never really got why Oldie never really considered to attempt to re-releasing stuff for Tornado or Cliff whenever they decide to drop new stuff for Tornado. Because while it makes sense to have the core characters items in circulation, don't you want the consumer to be able to access the full functions of the toys? Heck, I haven't been bringing up how Techno's also in the same camp as Tornado and Cliff since his stuff hasn't been released since the original movie toy line. However, unlike the former two, Techno's stuff is still relatively in circulation and the prices aren't bad for his stuff. But since Aldi has once again reformed the franchise to stick solely to the original series and XT, chances of people getting another shot to own the core roleplay items for Armor Hero Cliff will never be fulfilled. That all had to do with this video. This is Ryder, and I'll leave you people.